Hi everyone, and thanks for watching our latest instalment of Two for Your Toolkit. This is number 8, and remember the aim of these sessions is to make sure that they are easy to follow, show you how it can be useful, and how it's compatible in your classroom. In this session, we're specifically going to look at OneNote and PicCollage with our guests Lewis and Steven. Now, first up to date is Lewis Mitchell, who's a biology and science teacher from Graeme High School, and he's going to share some ideas for a tool he thinks that you could add to your teaching toolkit. Specifically, he's going to explain a little bit about how he uses OneNote within his own classroom as a digital whiteboard. So let's get started, and I'm going to pass you over to Lewis.
We're going to use OneNote. First thing we need to actually figure out is how to get onto it. So if you head into Teams, if you have made a Teams for one of your classes, if you go along to the More section up the top bar there and click on Class Notebook, it will automatically take you into the app and it will start making that class notebook for you. If it's the first time you've done it, it takes a couple of minutes just to sync everything, but once you've done it the first time, it will just open as quickly as this. So you can see here, I'm looking at my third year's OneNote page, and there's a couple of sections here. So the ones that we're going to be looking at today is the collaboration space and the content library. So the collaboration space essentially is something that every single person in this OneNote can actually work on. So if you distribute a page onto the collaboration space, anybody in the classroom can actually work on that. What I would say though is I tend to only use this with the classes that I can actually trust. I did try to use this with my second years and it did not go great because they all just kind of draw random stuff all over it. But in terms of my senior classes, my fourth years, my fifth years and even my third year, a really good wee class, I can really trust them to just do it and not kind of mess about with it, which is great. The content library, if you're not kind of familiar with OneNote, is essentially all the stuff that I can make. So I put stuff onto the content library and the students cannot touch that. So they have no kind of input in what goes on in there. So if we look into my content library now, into my class whiteboards, I've just kind of made this DNA and the production of proteins thing here. And as you can see, other than this bit of sugar here, I'll rub that out, this is a blank diagram. So what I can do is I can hold this here, and then down the bottom, you've got this bit here. If you go to move, you can add that into your collaboration space. Okay, so I'll just pop into my class mind maps bit, and it moves that across. If you want to keep one here and one in the collaboration space, you would just click copy, but I've just moved it across. So when I go into my collaboration space now, it opens up in here, which means that any student in the class can edit this. So if I was to say, for example, Bob, can you please fill out the complementary base pairing? He can pick up his Apple Pencil, or if he's not got an Apple Pencil, you can just add the text in as well, or you can draw with your finger and they could fill that in. And it's a really good little tool as well. If you're asking a student, for example, to fill in this arrow and they're not sure, they can pass it to somebody else in the room. And it's not a faff. You don't have to pass over bits of paper or pens or anything. That other person can literally just pick up their iPad and they can do it themselves. What I would say though is I always tend to get them to put the iPad face down if they're not using it, because I always have this projected on the screen anyway, so they can all see this. So if I was getting somebody to fill this out, I would simply say, okay, everybody, iPad's face down. Bob, you're going to fill this out, so can you please lift your iPad up and fill this section out for me? And that's a really kind of good classroom management tool, so that you know that there's people not kind of faffing about and doing stuff they should be doing. So that's kind of like in terms of diagrams, I think really, really helpful, especially in the sciences, and I know geography as well. There's quite a lot of diagrams that you do in geography, so it's really, really helpful for kind of picking on people and making sure that they understand what you want them to. Though the thing I use it for the most, and I absolutely love it and I use it all the time, is doing group work. So whenever I finish a key area, I will create 4 groups, and I will assign students in the class to those 4 groups, and I'll separate them, and then I will say to them, you have got 5 minutes to write as much as you can from the key area that we've just learned. And they get so competitive about it, especially because it's projected on the board. I can go like, look at everything that group 2's got, come on, like group 3 you need to catch up, or group 4's got diagrams, nobody else has got diagrams. So it's a really good tool for kind of pulling the whole class together as well. And especially as a teacher, it's a really good formative assessment because there's so much that you can actually test from using OneNote like this. You can do filling in diagrams, you can do the group work, like the mind maps and stuff like that. You can even do like fill in the blanks, so you can distribute pages to them and they can fill in the blanks as well. So just if you're unfamiliar with OneNote, I can show you really quickly how you would distribute a page. So if you go into, I think I've made this for my 5th year, so if I go to my 5th year's one, you'll see this is what happens sometimes when you let them run wild in the collaboration space. But if I go into my content library and I go to past paper questions, so this is just loads of past paper questions on proteins. If you click up the top section, you'll see it says up the top there, class notebook. If you click on that, it will bring up this little section at the top and you've got distribute page. So if you click in there and then distribute page again, it brings up this little section at the side. Takes a little second to load. And this brings up all the different sections that the students can see. So every single student in my 5th year class has got a class notes, a handouts, a homework and a quizzes section. So if I click, this is past paper questions, so I would put that into handouts and then I distribute that page. I won't do that because I'll get really upset. I'm sending them past paper questions but they don't even have biology today. That would send every single person in that class a copy of this worksheet. And that's not a collaboration space, that is their own worksheet. They can do whatever they want to it, they can save it to their device, they can draw on it, they can edit it, they can then send it back to me once they've edited it so that I can check it. And it's really, really, really helpful. OneNote is my favourite thing in the world. I absolutely love it. So I've got like a little diagram on the board now for respiration, and I drew it this morning, and I probably won't use it. I was just kind of drawing it just to kind of jog my memory, but that will get worked out and then I will go straight onto my OneNote and I will go into my content library, into my class whiteboard. You can see there's my genetic engineering one that I did, so we spent a good 40 minutes, almost a full period building that up together as a class. So if I go in here and say we are doing respiration, it is as simple as literally, if I get rid of this little page here, you can just, in my absolutely stunning handwriting, you can make up your whiteboard. Once you've done that, you can fire it over to every single student in the class. So that way, they're not missing out on notes. They've got absolutely everything that you want them to have. So it is super, super helpful, and I really do enjoy using OneNote.
Next up, we have Steven Stafford, who is an art and photography teacher from Larbert High School. Steven's going to share some ideas for how the tool PicCollage can be used as a part of a lesson. Over to Steven.
Forward to telling you about this excellent app called PicCollage today. I'm going to start with quite a narcissistic image of myself that a pupil made, where they created a joiner picture with lots of pictures of me. I think this is like the ideal situation for any classroom teacher. If I could have 5 versions of myself, that'd be pretty good. This was actually for a David Hockney lesson. David Hockney is a very interesting artist who created what you would call joiner pictures in the 1980s. And I first came across using PicCollage when trying to do this David Hockney lesson. And you can see some examples on the screen of different PicCollages, different joiner pictures that David Hockney created. A lot of these were an attempt to extend photographs, so extend the field of view, but also to show the effects of time, or to show the passing of time within still images. And you can see here, I'll just show you some examples of some of the PicCollages that my students made, which are quite fantastic. You can see one here. I quite like this. So you can get quite funny images as well as quite sophisticated images. And then you can see the passing of time. So I actually made an excuse to eat an apple in the classroom, and which they all thought was absolutely hilarious. And then they photographed the sequence of that and put it into a photographic sequence. But I'll come back to some of the examples a little bit later, and I'll show you basically how the PicCollage app works. I'll just open up one here. I would say the pupils are much better at using it than me, which I'm finding with a lot of this technology. But what you can see here is you open up the app, you've got pre-made grids, and then you've got different sort of aspect ratios that you can choose. So we'll just go for the Instagram square. It is so easy to use. It is really, really simple. I'll show you like a little example of like a joiner picture. So you basically click photos and videos, and you can see there's ones that I've made earlier on here. But I've taken photographs of a camera from different kind of focal lengths. So if I open up the first one, you can select more than one if you want to, but I'm just going to choose one initially. And then you can place it onto the canvas or the page. Basically, you just pinch to make larger or smaller. You can move it about. I mean, it's very, very easy. And then to add another picture, I just go tap, and then I can add another image. So I will, in fact, I won't go with that one. I'll go with this one. A more close-up view. And then if I was making a Hockney joiner picture, I would probably layer different images on top. And then I can kind of move things around, place that there, for example. It is very, very simplistic and easy to use. And then I could add, I don't know, I'll go for the camera strap, for example, and I can, very easy. What I can do as well is if I press and hold, I can click on send to the back, like that. Okay, if I wanted to do that, or I can leave it at the front. I quite liked it at the back actually. So it's basically, in a sense, a very easy version of building layers. So a good introduction to Photoshop. I am aware that not everybody would want to create, or maybe it wouldn't be relevant for everybody to create a David Hockney joiner picture in their lessons, but there is lots of different things that you can do. If I go back, you can choose like a pre-made grid, for example, something like this, and then you can just tap, and I'm going to add some images of this pupil that we had last year. I just want to show his work off, to be honest. So this was Callum Stewart, who created some beautiful photographs last year for advanced higher art, but through photography. So something like this, you know, you just pick the 4 images and then you can display them on there. You can change your background. You'll see down there, there's different kind of, we could go for, oh, you've got to pay for that. Honestly, nothing comes for free. So we could try these different ones. Change the color, go for a Halloween kind of look. You can also add text on as well. It is a free app, but you can see you've got the watermark at the bottom. Obviously, if you pay for the premium version, you can get rid of that. So say I was really happy with that for Halloween. I could save that to my library quite easily. But as I'm saying, there's probably other examples. I've actually used it recently because I was thinking, what could I do in a lesson that other teachers might want to do? And I was thinking, even as a tool for organising information, it's really, really brilliant. A lot of my pupils really like to use mind maps to organise their thoughts. I like that as well, I must add. But you can just create a blank slide, as it were. You can add images in, you can add arrows. I know it looks a little bit like just like a PowerPoint, but I think the app is so easy to use. You know, it's so user friendly, which is for me is a big selling point. And the pupils did say that they really enjoyed creating the mind maps. They enjoyed creating the mind maps for organising their information. So, you know, there is, I don't want to rate the the app. But you'll see different uses, lots of different things that you can actually do with the app. And you'll see some of my camera examples down here that I made. I think, to be honest, the examples that the pupils have made are a lot more interesting. And I've started to think about how I can use PicCollage for other lessons. So even thinking, you know, if you were teaching media studies or if you were teaching English, you could create like a little storyboard sort of narrative. I really like the work of American photographer Dwayne Michaels, who creates photographic sequences, which are fascinating. So from a photography point of view, you could really easily and quickly create a photographic sequence, like something like this. And then you could add text onto it. You could even, if you're lucky enough to have an Apple Pencil or a cheaper version, you could draw text onto the app. But it is brilliant. You can use so many different things that you can do. And what I like about the app is, for that lesson, the David Hockney lesson, we started with portraits like this, which, you know, really, really strong work. And then by the end of the lesson, pupils had developed ideas like this. So, which I didn't actually plan. I didn't say, this is what we're going to do. One of the pupils said to me, why don't we do like eating an apple? And I was like, right, okay, I've got an apple. And then we've done that. So it's allowing pupils to be very independent and creative and take their learning in lots of different directions. I did have a little video of a pupil organising their mind map as well, which, you know, I can maybe put into this video. But yeah, it's such an easy app to use, and I really recommend it as a teaching tool.
So I hope you've all found something in this Tool for Your Toolkit session that you can take away today. So some new tips or even a new tool to try out. And I'd like to take this time as well to thank both Lewis and Steven for their time in making this video. Please don't forget, there's lots of other places where you can access ideas and support from the Connected Falkirk team, and you can see some of these on the screen just now. Thank you so much for watching.